Plateau State Governor reviews modalities and curfew orders in the state as President Buhari pleads for peaceful coexistence in the aftermath of tension in the state. And the Chief Justice of Nigeria summons heads of some courts over conflicting court cases. Today we say they are confusing conflicting court orders, and so we dissect the origin and how to stop this confusion. It's a pleasure to have you join us, everyone. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale at Channels Television's studio in Abuja, the nation's capital. Let's begin tonight by telling you what the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, said. He's appealing to Nigerians to encourage more Boko Haram members to surrender so as to help end insurgency in that region. The Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, said today in Borno State when he visited the northeastern when was speaking on the reports that Boko Haram elements are coming out of their trenches to surrender to Nigerian troops. He said the move should be seen as a welcome development and should be encouraged. He went further to say, quote, the recent surrender by Boko Haram element is a good development for the security of this country. Personally, I believe that the federal government must work with the Borno State government and other states in this part of the country to ensure that those that have been received are appropriately processed. He went further to say that those that have no issues to answer are sanitized and taken back to their communities. Those that may have issues to answer should be taken through the legal processes, but we must ensure that we encourage Boko Haram elements and those that have taken by force to come out to surrender so that this unnecessary insurgency placed on us comes to an end. Those are the views of Senate President Ahmed Lawan. There are other stories that we are following for you, and these are those stories on our political roundup.
Our former Minister of Justice, Mr. Kanu Agabi, says respect for rule of law and human rights is key to tackling insecurity in Nigeria. According to him, the life of every citizen must be considered important and their rights guaranteed in accordance with the laws. The former minister was speaking at the 2021 Law Week of the Nigerian Bar Association Abuja branch, where stakeholders also emphasized the need for legal practitioners to hold those in power accountable.
In our country, power is everything. Wealth is everything, and life is nothing. And that's why you have chosen to speak about human rights, about insecurity. Our profession, the legal profession, is the profession of the Good Samaritan. That's what it is. And we are not going to despair.
Positive growth of 0.11.
The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, had announced plans for the launch of the Euro bond in October. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, the minister explains that the initiative will feature a roadshow for the dollar-dominated issuance, which aims to raise about $3 billion in Lagos and New York. She further explains that the government will be raising the same amount through multilateral and bilateral borrowing to fund its 2021 budget deficit, which she describes as sustainable.
You will begin to see the impact on industry, on services, and what that means is there will be more employment to reduce the unemployment levels, and there will be more consumption levels will increase because there will be more funds in the hands of people. It's a gradual process, and we will reach our growth aspirations.
The Department of State Services, the DSS, has released 8 of the 12 Igboho aides who have been detained by the security outfit for about 60 days. According to the Igbo aides lawyer, the 8 aides were released this afternoon. Their release comes 6 to 1 days after they were arrested in a raid by joint security forces on the residence of Mr. Igbo in Ibadan. Justice Obiora Eguatu of the Federal High Court in Abuja had granted bail to the 12 followers of Igbo, but the DSS opposed the bail, claiming that it was not in favor of national security.
But this is some of your political roundup stories. Tonight, our attention, first and foremost, in this segment, is about the security situation on the Plateau State. The governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, has relaxed curfews imposed on parts of the state due to insecurity. The governor, in a broadcast earlier today, said the 24-hour curfew in Just North is now to be enforced from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. until further notice. He announced other measures too in this broadcast. Take a listen to a portion of that.
After my visit to Yelwazangam village, I took a tour of Jos Metropolis to see things for myself. I'll also engage the security agencies to review the general security situation in the 3 local government areas where the curfew was imposed, as well as other parts of the state. At the end of the review, government took the following decisions. 1. The curfew in Jos North is to be relaxed. Beginning from Monday, the 30th August 2021, the curfew shall be enforced from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. until further notice. The curfew in Jos South and Bassa is to also be further relaxed, as from Monday, the 30th of August 2021, the curfew shall be enforced between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. until further notice. 3. The ban on tricycles, keke napep, and the hawkers remain in force within Jos Bukuru Metropolis.
Well, that's the governor, Simon Lalong of Plateau State. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has lent his voice to the situation, and in a statement today from his office, the president assures all citizens that as a government, the administration is on top of events and is moving ahead with force to crush the perpetrators of the recent incidents of unrest in Plateau State. The statement went further to say that, but to achieve success, our communities must unite against these horrific attacks. Retributive violence is not the answer. President Buhari is also asking citizens not to attribute the situation to ethnic nor religious connotations. Let's take a closer look at the matter. A lot of you have heard, if you have not been to Plateau State, you've probably have heard about Jos, about how people want to visit Jos, how peaceful or how very nice the environment in Jos is, how the tourism in that area was booming some years back. What has changed? Let's look at a scenario playing out in Plateau State and how to stem it. I'm being joined tonight by the senator representing Plateau North, Senator Estefanos Giang. He joins us virtually. And with me here is a retired commissioner of police who has worked in that vicinity, CP Kayode Akiremale, who is here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Akiremale, for joining us tonight. Abayomi, apologies, sorry.
Yeah, good evening, viewers. Good evening, viewers.
I don't know why I always give you that name. It does look like you look like a Kayode. I'll always call you Kayode. Abayomi Akiremale. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
But seriously speaking now, let's get to hear from Senator Giang. Senator, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Give us a sense of what is happening. We've heard from the governor today trying to give some measures in ensuring that situation is contained. And the president has also spoken to say, do not draw ethnic and religious tendencies into this situation of things. You represent the people of Just North. What exactly is happening?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be part of this program. First, let me say that I deplore the killings that have been taking place in Plateau State, and to condemn it in very strong terms, and to say that no citizen should be made to lose his life simply on the basis of his religion or ethnicity. And to say that Plateau State, particularly my constituency, Plateau North, has for over 2 decades been passing through these serial attacks that have led to a displacement of host communities, loss of lives and property. And the situation, the latest one has been a resurgence of these attacks from Riom local government to Basa local government, and now into just not local government. The situation is such that we require to understand the existential threat to which the constituency and the people have been subjected to over time. And this has so many underlying factors. And this program will not enable me to begin to reel out the underlying factors. But critical to say at this moment that I would want to say that the issue here requires the effective enforcement of law and order, knowing that the constitutional responsibility of every government primarily is to ensure that the lives of citizens and their property are safeguarded. And you know that of all rights, the right to life is the most fundamental, because it's only when you are alive that other rights can accrue to you. Rights only accrue to the living, not to the dead. And that's why the extent to which we have been losing lives in my constituency is so disheartening. And that is why I would want to sincerely say that we have to understand the need to manage our diversity, the need to enforce effectively law and order, and of course, the need to respect the rights of citizens and customary and citizenship rights in our communities. And particularly, let me say, management of diversity. The Constitution allows citizens to reside in any part of the state, and also to respect the rights of those communities, to respect and promote the part of the peace process, the peace of their community, the progress of their communities. And that is what in Plateau State, particularly my host communities that have been very hospitable, host communities that have been very accommodating, Nigerians of all ethnicities and religions. And what has happened is that the other Nigerians that have come to cohabit and to coexist with the people of Plateau North have not understood very well, particularly the herdsmen issues. The herdsmen have not understood the need for them to respect the rights of their host communities. That host communities have accommodated herdsmen, and over time, it has been said it was farmer-herders clash, but it has turned out to be a situation where instead of cohabiting with the host communities, the herders have allowed themselves, some of them, to now initiate attacks on these host communities, displace the host communities, and to forcefully occupy their lands and ancestral habitat. And that has occurred over the local governments of Iladi, of Riom, of Basa, and now stepping into Jos North, and of course, also in Bokos local government. So the issue is
all right, Senator.
The need for,
I'll come to you in a short while. Let me get CP Abayomi Akremale into the conversation. You've worked in Nasarawa, you've been to Plateau, you've schooled there, you understand the terrain. You heard some of the things that the governor said today. First and foremost, before I ask you some of the technical questions as to how to deal with the situation, what is your view? You heard what the senator has said. How do we unwrap what is happening in this area?
Thank you very much. The governor is the chief security officer of the state. He has all the forces at his disposal. He has a duty to protect the citizens of that state. So if anything is wrong somewhere, we have to hold the governor responsible if he does not use his power to ensure that the lives of the citizens are protected.
I mean, isn't he using them? Is ordered curfew? Is at meetings, religious leaders meetings, ethnic leaders meetings, community heads meetings?
Yes, it's
right.
right.
What else is he supposed to do that perhaps is not done in your view?
He has tried by imposing curfew. Curfew is an abnormal remedy, but then say an abnormal situation demands an abnormal remedy. I'm sure he was pushed to that wall Even the citizens suffer under curfew. Their life is disrupted, but the governor is pushed to that level to ensure that there was peace. In that case, he has tried by imposing curfew, but the innocent people too suffer under curfew. But it was just a weapon to make sure that there is peace. So that was okay. That was okay. But we must go further to ensure that the lives of the indigenous of those states, their lives are protected. And because we talk of fundamental rights, we fail to tell members of the public that your right ends where my nose begins. See, we tell them of Section 35, 36, 37, 38 of the Constitution. We fail to tell them from Section 45, 46, 47, that right begins to respect the right of others. We must be able to tell them whatever the human rights are saying. They must enlighten members of the public that you're right. You have an obligation to respect the right of the other person.
Because, I mean, you're talking about rights now. The senator is speaking perhaps on behalf of his members of his constituency.
Yes,
and he's
that's
saying
duty to do that.
it looks from his own point of view that it's a clash of the host and the visitors who are residing in that area. How do you handle this kind of situation? Especially under our law, the issue of citizenship and indigenship has become a major debate.
Yeah, we're all Nigerians. We have to tolerate each other. And even our diversity should be a source of strength for us. So if you are in Rome, you have to act like the Romans. If you settle in a place, you have to understand the culture of the people and respect their rights to that culture. You have to respect the ancestral rights that they too have. So if people settle in a place, you have to abide by their way of life so that there won't be clashes. We often talk that if the president has said that we should not attribute these clashes to religious or ethnic causes, if that is true, then what trigger off these clashes? We must find out the root cause. What is the root cause? The senator has mentioned the farmers and herdsmen clashes. If that is a contributory factor, the government has a duty to see what can be done to ensure that herdsmen and farmers do not clash. And I believe that the government has the power to use intelligence gathering to do that. That is the cause.
He has, the governor in that broadcast talked about the review of the curfew measures.
Yeah.
He's also talked about how motorcycles and tricycles and how they can move. And he also spoke about putting up a police post in that area. What are your views, technically speaking, for someone who had been a commissioner of police?
Thank you very much. My view about police posts, I advise the governor not to build police posts, but to build a police station. From my experience, if you build a police post, you expose all the policemen there to conquest. The police posts are overall. And there are only a few. It's a statutory provision for police posts that these are the number of people that must be there. This is the status of a police station. And when crisis comes, they easily overrun them. Sometimes they kill these policemen. When you build a police station, the strength in that station will be higher. And to overcome a station, it takes some degree of attack before you can do that. So my advice is I should not build a police post. Build a police station, and the community will grow, and the police station will be able to serve them till the town begins to expand. So, as to security, that's my advice, that you should build stations so that the stations can protect the citizens.
Well, the stations are statutory and in the prerogative of the Nigerian police force, and there is another unit of the Nigerian police that administers how you can extend the staff strength of a police and, of course, and the capacity of the police. Of course, I know as a chief security officer, he could apply for that. He could speak with the Inspector General of Police on that. But, I mean, beyond that is the issue of community policing that people have talked about, how the community community itself can build a system that can secure and police it. I mean, you know that region, you know that area. Plateau State is bordered by Bauchi, Nasarawa, some of the state in the northwest and all of that. How easy can it be policed such a way that what the senator described will not, the fear about those who are encroaching on the lands and the property and of those who have been there for ages will not be trampled upon?
When it comes to the issue of personnel, it's a question of collaboration. That is what comes to the office of the Inspector General for personnel to be deployed to the station. But when it comes to building structures, the governor has a duty to collaborate with the institution. Because he is the chief security officer of the state, he has a duty to come in and ensure that whatever facilities can be given to the police in order to ensure that the lives and property of the citizen are secured, that he will do that. When they collaborate, they'll be able to achieve these ends.
All right. Let me go back to the senator. Senator, you've spoken about this situation and you said that let's call a spade, that this is terror on your people. Terror within or without. Can you give us an understanding of what is happening? And also part of what the governor and the president is saying, that this is just criminal. I mean, let's call it what it is. Criminality. That is the name of it. Those who are killing innocent Nigerians in their homes. Give us more insight about what you mean about this being a terror attack on your people.
Thank you very much. In diagnosing this situation, we need to properly profile and classify the issues. You have people that are coming into this state, attacking communities with sophisticated weapons, displacing host communities. As I'm talking to you, over 70 host communities have been displaced and their lands are under forceful occupation by those who displaced them. You have witnessed the very criminal destruction of farmlands where farm crops that have grown nearing harvest were mowed down. Over time, this has repeatedly been happening. And that is why, to me, it is to profile this as terror attacks. These are not just mere criminals, like people that are pickpockets, people that are doing this and that. Of course, it's part of criminality, but criminality of the state of terror. And that is why, until we properly classify it, government will be shying away from the appropriate response to deal with these terror attacks. The same measures that are being taken against the insurgents in the Northeast should be taken against people that are coming to attack and displace host communities and place them under forceful occupation. And that is why one of the remedies in going forward, I would rather we talk of going forward, is that there should be a situation where these host communities that are under forceful occupation, their land should be returned to them. And then we should have a situation where we enforce law decisively in the state and ensure that the justice system takes its course in a way that anyone that is culpable should not only be apprehended, but should be prosecuted and be brought to book in accordance with the laws of the land. And furthermore, those that are amenable to peace, peace-loving citizens, should be encouraged to continue to adopt dialogue as a means of engaging themselves at community level, relying and adopting the community structures and governmental structures that have been in place, so that violence should not be an option. Peace-loving people will not adopt violence as a means of resolving conflict. It is only terrorists that will come to attack communities, displace them, and forcefully occupy their ancestral homes. So this issue requires that all law-abiding citizens, the government and citizens of Nigeria, should abhor and should condemn all forms of killings, and particularly the situation that is going on in my constituency over 20 years now.
All right, Senator, let's take a moment to listen again to Governor Simon Lalong. Perhaps some other portions of what he said today that you have not heard on this program on the measures. He said he's met severally, almost 40 times. He's had series of conversations with people and meetings. Let's take a listen to some of the measures the governor said is put in place in his earlier broadcast today.
Citizens of Plateau State, it is with a heavy heart that I address you today over the security situation in Plateau State. Events of the recent past have cast a dark shadow on the progress and the huge investments we have made in peace building and crime fighting within the last 6 years. Due to the recent attacks in Jos North, Bassa, Riom, and Barikin Ladi, we have witnessed the unfortunate disruption to the peace and security of the state by criminal elements, leading to the loss of innocent lives, properties, farm crops, and livestock. Despite the directive to security agencies to stop the attacks, arrest perpetrators, and bring them to justice, these attacks continued with the incident in Rukuba Road, where commuters were attacked, leading to other deaths and destruction. The ugly situation again resurfaced in the Yelwa Zangam village of Jos North local government, where many people were again killed and properties destroyed. While arrests have been made in most of these incidents, the constant threat to lives and properties necessitated the imposition of curfew on Jos North, Bassa, and Jos South local government areas to enable security agencies properly deploy to handle the situation and stop further breakdown of law and order. At this point, I wish to commiserate with the entire citizens of the state over these sad developments. I particularly extend my deep condolences to the families of those who lost their loved ones, as well as those who sustained injuries and lost properties during the carnage. I've directed that government pays the medical bills of those who are receiving treatment in various health facilities. As a result of these occurrences, I convened a high-level stakeholders meeting where traditional, political, community, and religious leaders gathered to brainstorm on how to bring an end to this cycle of violence. Thereafter, I held separate meetings with the leaders of Irigwe land, as well as Fulani community, to further engage them on lasting solutions to the protracted conflict within the area. It is important to state that we have had several engagements with them in the past and made efforts to ensure that peace prevails in the area. Between January and July this year, the Plateau Peace Building Agency has conducted over 34 mediation engagements at community levels in Miango, Kwal, Dusemkura, and Gelobari districts of Bassa local government. In response to these attacks, I also held meetings with the Plateau Interreligious Councils and directed them along with the Peace Building Agency to swing into action by carrying out more consultations and engagements to diffuse tensions, calm nerves, and dig deep into the immediate and remote causes of these conflicts with a view to bringing the ugly situation to an end. From the engagement so far, it has again become clear that all these attacks are purely criminal activities that must be treated as such. Even though they are quickly given ethno-religious connotations, there is no justification for the killing of any one human being. We are a society that is guided by rules which do not permit anyone to take the laws into his or her hands, no matter the grievances. Yesterday, I visited the Yelwa Zangam village of Jos North local government to see things for myself and commiserate with the families of those affected, as well as reassure them that government will stop at nothing to apprehend other fleeing suspects behind the attacks. We are determined to ensure diligent investigation and prosecution to give them justice. To forestall further occurrences, I visited and met with the President in Abuja to seek for more deployment of security forces and equipment to enhance the capacity of our law enforcement agencies to protect our people. I received assurances from Mr. President that the request will be acted upon immediately. Arising from my discussion with Mr. President, I had a meeting with the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, as well as the DG of the National Emergency Management Agency regarding humanitarian assistance to the victims of the various attacks. I received commitment that very soon relief materials will be delivered to the state. Already, the state government has procured relief materials which are being distributed to the victims in various locations. On Friday, the Peace Building Agency also delivered relief materials donated by USAID to displaced communities in Bassa. We shall continue to partner with more humanitarian organizations towards alleviating the sufferings of the victims. My dear citizens, our long-term goal is to foster dialogue, collaboration, understanding, and proactive dispute resolution mechanisms that will make it difficult for people to resort to criminality in the name of self-help and reprisals whenever there is any disagreement. Those who fail to follow lawful means to settle their grievances should be ready for a showdown with government, as we will never tolerate killings and destruction of properties under any guise. During these trying times, I have watched with great disappointment the unfortunate comments and utterances of some citizens, including religious, political, and community leaders from within and outside the state, who rather than calm nerves and join hands with the government to ensure the quick restoration of peace, resorted to pushing other ethno-religious sentiments that further created tensions. Some sections of the mainstream and social media also chose to play to the gallery and fan the embers of hatred and disunity. However, majority of our media platforms performed their duties diligently and highlighted government's effort in discharging its constitutional obligation of ensuring the safety of lives and property. I must commend people of conscience across different faiths, ethnic, and political backgrounds that have remained objective, dispassionate, and resolute towards condemning the criminal actions of the attackers and offering useful suggestions to the government on ways to improve public safety. I wish to thank friends of Plateau State from far and near who sent words of encouragement and played various roles in calming nerves, as well as refuting false narratives about the wrong perceptions and exaggeration of the situation. Specifically, I wish to thank the Governor of Kebbi State, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar Bagudu, who led a delegation of Progressive Governors Forum to condole the state and make donations to victims. At the same time, he demonstrated exemplary solidarity by declining to join the panic rush of evacuating students from the University of Jos by some state governments. His approach of confidence building and collaboration affirms the fact that Plateau State still remains a home to all. Let me therefore use this opportunity to assure parents of students studying at the University of Jos that we are working with the university authorities to ensure the safety of their wards as soon as the school reconvenes. In the same vein, I have assured the management of NYSC that government will partner with them to guarantee the safety of core members hosted to the state. After my visit to Yelwazangam village, I took a tour of Jos Metropolis to see things for myself. I'll also engage the security agencies to review the general security situation in the 3 local government areas where the curfew was imposed, as well as other parts of the state. At the end of the review, government took the following decisions. 1. The curfew in Jos North is to be relaxed. Beginning from Monday, the 30th August 2021, the curfew shall be enforced from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. until further notice. The curfew in Jos South and Bassa is to also be further relaxed, as from Monday, the 30th of August 2021, the curfew shall be enforced between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. until further notice. 3. The ban on tricycles, keke napep, and the hawkers remain enforced within Jos Bukuru Metropolis. The Plateau Economic and Investment Summit, earlier scheduled for 1st and 2nd of September 2021, has been postponed. A new date will be announced and communicated to all our invitees. We apologize for any inconveniences this postponement might cause. Fellow citizens of Plateau State, we are facing a very difficult moment and we must work together to overcome. There is an obvious plan by those who desire to see Plateau in perpetual crisis to employ all divisive methods to achieve these objectives. We must not allow them to use politics, religion, and ethnicity to divert our attention from the criminal activities. My determination as your governor is to ensure that I encourage all citizens to embrace one another and use peaceful means to settle any disagreement. I shall continue to ensure that we build the capacity of our security agencies, including the Operation Rainbow, the newly trained 3,000 vigilantes, as well as our traditional institutions, to be able to respond promptly and effectively to criminals so that we can enjoy peace and tranquility. Finally, I call on all citizens of Plateau State to work in synergy and promote the long-standing ideas of accommodation, tolerance, love, hard work, godliness, and forgiveness, which we are known for. Plateau State remains the home of peace and tourism. God bless Plateau State and the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That is the governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, a full broadcast that he gave earlier today on the situation of things. So let's wrap up on this matter now. And let me allow my guest to share the next 60 seconds or so. So that, CPR Kirimali, final word on this one. Where do we turn now? You heard what the governor has said.
Yeah, I heard him loud and clear. And he has taken some measures to restore peace. Plateau is a very peaceful place with its temperate weather, with all the good things we have there. And it's very painful that this sort of thing should be happening there. But the senator did mention that some people come and displace some inhabitants and take over the place. If you know that somebody is not the one who has been there from time, and he comes and takes over the place, then the security agencies are there. It means the new people that have come are known. They should be able to pick them up, to vacate that place that they have taken by force. And we have the Surveyor General of the Federation. He knows about boundary adjustment and so on. If we have geographical boundaries, we have natural boundaries. We should get all of them involved to make sure that these clashes are reduced. The National Orientation Agency, too, they have done a lot of programs on the television, telling us on how to respect the rights of other people and to live together as Nigerians. And they can do more.
All right. Senator, let me come to you. Your final thoughts on this one. Your solution from your own point of view.
Thank you very much. Once again, we must manage diversity properly. Diversity is not a liability except if it is mismanaged. Government must demonstrate fairness, equity, and be seen to be very dispassionate in our responses to crisis situation and attacks on communities. And we in Plateau North, I'm calling on my people to continue to remain hospitable, to continue to accommodate other citizens of Nigeria, and to be very, very alert to the security situation, looking up to the promise of the governor and government that they are in placing measures that will secure and safeguard citizens. But very importantly, we are calling on the president that he should show empathy to Plateau and also be seen to give Plateau the necessary attention. The displaced community should be resettled. The 500 housing units that the president has approved for other states, she should please give directive for the displaced communities and people of Plateau State to also have that privilege of government and that responsibility of government to resettle the displaced persons. And of course, we ask all citizens of Plateau never to adopt violence. Of course, we've not been violent. It's violence that has been brought on the state and the people. And we urge other Nigerians that externalizing the Plateau issue on the basis of sentiment and emotion is not going to be helpful. We ask you to be, we ask for your empathy, we ask for your prayers, and of course, we ask that you insist on government to secure all citizens, not only Plateau North citizens, but citizens of across the country, because that is the primary responsibility of government. And in our constituency, people must continue to adopt the dialogue and rely on the structures that are on ground, so that we strengthen our community relations with peace-loving citizens. But for those that have made up their mind to terrorize the people of Plateau and across the country, it's not typical, it's not restricted to Plateau. Across the nation, that the law must be enforced against
we need to leave it at that. Senator Estefanos Giang, the senator representing Plateau North in the National Assembly. Thank you so much, distinguished senator, for your time tonight and your thought. Mr. Abayami Akeremale, a former commissioner of police, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts too.
It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Well, we take a break, and when we return, we shift focus to some legal matters. Mr. Ahmed Raji, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Mr. GT Ogunye, a lawyer, both of them will be joining us to discuss the summons by the Chief Justice of Nigeria on stopping the conflicting court orders. Join us again, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Chairman of the National Judicial Council, Justice Tanko Muhammad, has summoned the Chief Judges of Rivers, Kebbi, Cross River, Anambra, Jigawa, and Imo States to an emergency meeting. This is part of effort to stem the recent wave of embarrassing and conflicting ex-parte orders emanating from judges in their jurisdictions. In a letter of invitation dated 30th of August 2021, the CJN summoned the head of the concerned court to the emergency meeting to brief him on the incessant granting of the conflicting orders on suits instituted by different political parties before the various courts. Channel Television also gathered that the meeting between the CJN and the heads of the courts concerned is a prelude to a larger NJC meeting likely to hold next week. The leadership of the judiciary is said to be embarrassed by the recent developments, and the meeting is part of measures to stem the tide and to be seized of the facts before the larger council deliberation. Let's get some legal opinion now. I'm being joined by a senior lawyer, Mr. GT Ogunye, who joins us from our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogunye, for your time tonight. For our viewers who are wondering, I mean, we've reported to you stories. For example, let me take the very closest and the recent one. In PDP, there was a court order in Rivers State stopping Mr. Uche Secondus from parading himself as the national chairman of the PDP. There was a counter order from Benin Kebbi to counter the order from Port Harcourt. And a few days later, there was another court order from Calabar in Cross River State, again, stopping Mr. Secondus from parading himself. There are different court orders. What it brings sometimes is confusion. I mean, these are ex-parte orders, which we understand that for the state, it has a lifespan. For the federal, it has perhaps a double lifespan for it to lapse. And this usually happens when a party in a matter presents himself in front of the judge without even the other party present, pending the hearing of the case. So let's discuss and find out why are these confusing court orders keep cropping up in our judiciary. Mr. Ogunye, give us a sense. I know we've had this conversation before, but not specifically on this. It was something that you mentioned on the show when we were together in Lagos. Give me a sense of why this happens. Is it peculiar to politicians?
Well, thanks for inviting me. I think it happens because largely politicians think that the judicial forum or arena is an extension of their partisan platform for supremacy tussle. So for them, they want to use the judiciary, regardless of how hallowed the judicial forum is, to lawyers and non-lawyers, to strengthen their own positions in their unending political contentions and conflicts. So they don't think that that forum is too sacrosanct for them to invade and then do whatever they like. Now, my grouse is with the judiciary, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. As it is said in my own part of the world, a torrential flood, a roaring flood, will not refrain from demolishing the tenement of a man who has a choice property. It's the owner of the property that will prevent that disaster from occurring. So the judiciary has a duty to rebuff politicians when they come with their deleterious briefs and cases and say, no, go away. Now, I know that there are two considerations here. One consideration is that a judicial officer, once a matter is presented, once he has jurisdiction, he is not expected to start moving out of the four corners of that case to start looking at what is going on outside. So in a way, there's a little play of the ostrich here. So you are not supposed to be influenced by other things and all that. But I have always maintained that in the law administration, law, justice dispensation neighborhood, a judicial officer is expected to know what is going on all over the place. Now, this is not the first time this will be happening. It's been happening for a long time. In 2016, for example, you will recall, there was this same problem of conflicting order between the order given by Honorable Justice Okonabang of the Federal High Court in Abuja and the order given by Port Harcourt Federal High Court headed by Honorable Justice Ibrahim Watila, then. And it's centered on the leadership tussle of the PDP then. And so what we are witnessing is a reenactment of history, and it will continue to happen. So what the CJN has done as the chairman of the NJC and what the NJC may do is salutary, because whereas other people may say, no, that's a kind of interference, allow those things to play out, and then ultimately they may then get to the Supreme Court and whatever. No, I've always maintained that the NJC, under paragraph 21, subparagraph B, subparagraph 1 of part 1 of the third schedule to the Constitution, has broad powers over policy, administration of the judiciary, and to exercise disciplinary control and powers over all judges. So the petition laying protocol and the complaint submission protocol of the NJC cannot be relied upon when a state of emergency in the judiciary like this occurs to say, let's wait, let the parties complain to us. When they complain to us, we may then sanction the judges. No, before you get around doing that, the castle, the house may collapse on our heads. So apprehend that and then take the steps that you have reported is being taken right now, and then let's see how the NJC can then intervene. So that's the right step to take. I salute that.
Great. Okay, great. So let's look at it from two angles, and these are things that I'm able to pick out from this matter. The issue of jurisdiction and the issue of technicalities involved in what lawyers are doing on behalf of politicians. And do you call it firm shopping, where they go from one court or the other to get orders, if that's what you call it? But let's look at it first and foremost. Is it a moral issue or a legal offense for a lawyer to get out of jurisdiction to get an order?
A straightforward answer. Some of the problem we have are caused by our legislations. And I can reference Section 31 of the Electoral Act, for example, and Section 85 of the same Electoral Act. both provisions governing submission of the list of candidates and the affidavits, and then on nomination of candidates. Now, on Section 31, subsection 5, it says that if any person has a problem, has any reasonable ground to complain about the submission of list of candidates and the affidavit they submit, that person may file an action to challenge that in a high court of a state, in a federal high court, or in the high court of the Federal Capital Territory. Meaning that there is no streamlining. So anybody can go to any high court of any state. Section 85, subsection 9, says that if the nomination of a candidate is submitted and you disagree with that there's a problem with that, you are an aspirant, you can also approach any high court of a state, any federal high court, or any high court of the Federal Capital Territory. That's how it is worded. So if you look at those provisions, you agree with me that it's possible that while you are talking about the same course of action, depending on how lawyers, bring the name of the parties, whether INEC will be the first party or whatever, or the first defender and all that, you can go to any state and file an action. And that's what is being done right now. So in a sense, you may say that, yes, the provisions of the law allow the exercise of jurisdiction by this court. But the point I'm making is that what we are seeing essentially, when you are having courts of coordinate or concurrent jurisdiction, exercising powers over the same course of action, what you have is a quintessential, it is a classical abuse of court process and forum shopping. And it borders on ethical infractions, even by the lawyers who are taking these cases.
What is the punishment
parties
for
and
forum
all that.
shopping, Mr. Ogoye? Because I know is, like you said, is on the issue of ethics and part of the ethos
I regard
of
it
the legal profession.
I regard
What
it,
is the punishment for
I
any
regard it-
lawyer that is
there's-
found doing such?
There's a professional punishment for that, depending on what you call it, whether it's an infamous conduct or an act of misconduct by lawyers. The Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee, properly convened, should be able to intervene and sanction such lawyers. Unfortunately, many of the lawyers who lead this forum shopping and take these cases around are also very senior lawyers. So in a way, they are inoculated, if you ask me, because of the principalities and powers in the legal profession. Indeed, some of the people who are orchestrating these are not only politicians, they also have their leg well stamped in the legal profession as either body of benchers, people like benchers, and so on and so forth. So the whole thing is confusing. But I think that the NJC can rise to the occasion and then deal with it decisively and say, no, not under our watch will we allow this kind of desecration of judicial processes to continue any longer. And I think that unless the NJC does that, and unless the NBA and Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee, apprehend this and say, no, this cannot continue. The judiciary is going to be made a laughing stock, and this must stop. I think that the practice will continue because politicians place a high premium on this. It's not only the PDP that is doing this now. The last time you recall, it also happened in APC. If you want to remove somebody who's in office, you go and get an order of injunction against him. Whereas, properly considered, an order of injunction, particularly an ex parte injunction, affecting a matter that is very urgent, is to restrain something that is there to happen. How do you restrain somebody who's in an office from functioning? So it's become an act of using the judiciary to commit what I would call a judicial coup against certain political opponents. Use the order of court to remove somebody who is an officer of a party or to prevent him from acting. That's not how you use the order of court. So there are a number of issues involved, including jurisprudential question pertaining to whether indeed you can use order of injunction in that way. Don't forget, just recently, Adam Oshimole was said to have obtained an order of court, final order of court now, nullifying his purported suspension from his ward, which was indeed the foundation that was latched onto by partisans and they invaded the court, and they were getting orders and all that. So in this crime, all these politicians, regardless of their political party or hue or color, they are complicit. And I think that what the judiciary need to do is to step back and say, no, we won't allow you to destroy our courts the way you are destroying your parties, and that this is not going to continue any longer. I think that that's the attitude the judiciary must maintain regarding this egregious misbehavior. Yeah.
Mr. Ogunye, I sincerely appreciate the insight and the thought that you've shared on this matter. As much as the judiciary is a place where everybody run to for cover, it must also be respected so it's not bastardized and misused. Thank you so much, sincerely, Mr. Ogunye, for the thought that you've shared on that matter.
Yes, my pleasure.
But that's how we end it tonight on the program. Many thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.